the federal government has expressed resistance to Professor Pat Utomi's formation of a shadow government comprising members from various opposition parties. This initiative, launched under the Big Tent Coalition, aims to serve as a credible alternative governance structure. Now, to discuss this, I'm joined live in the studio by Felix Morka, as National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you for your time, sir.
It's great for having me.
It's great having you. So let's get straight to it. The idea of a shadow government, according to Professor Pat Utomi, what do you think of it?
Now, first of all, Nigeria operates the presidential system of government with a presidency and a bicameral legislature, the National Assembly as we have it, consisting of the Senate and the House of Representatives at the national level. And at the state level, you have the governor and you have, the state assemblies. Now, that is the structure of a presidential system that is modeled uniquely after the American presidential system. Now, on the other hand, you have the parliamentary system of government, which operates in countries like the United Kingdom, where, basically parliament, produces leadership of government, in the office of the prime minister, who then forms a cabinet with, fellow parliamentarians. Now, in that tradition, in the parliamentarian tradition, you may have, what is called a shadow government, because the opposition, like right now, the Labour Party in the UK, may be said to have the shadow government because it's the nature, it is, completely specific to the parliamentary system of government. That is not the case in the presidential system of government. There's no such, concept of a shadow government at that level. And even if there were to be a shadow government, it is not in the entitlement of an individual like Professor Pat Utomi to declare a shadow government, especially when it is framed as such. Now, look, let's get a few things straight, which is that in a democracy, opposition is a critical component, aspect, feature of any democratic system, including the system we operate in Nigeria. So yes, it is expected that people who don't subscribe, if you will, to the membership or tenets of the ruling party will constitute themselves in political parties that then seek to oppose the government, provide alternative ideas and fair and constructive criticism of government, and then let those ideas flourish. But that's not what we're witnessing here.
What are we witnessing?
What we're witnessing is an individual who, has arrogated to himself the right to declare a shadow government. But that's not even...
But it has given some sort of clarity to it. I mean, in a statement recently released by Steam with the title, "In Service of Country, in Obedience to Conscience," it goes on to say, let me state this plainly. This, or the shadow government, is not a rebellion. It is not a claim to execute authority. It is not a parallel structure to the state. Rather, it is a citizens' platform for responsible democratic opposition, an initiative rooted firmly in the Nigerian Constitution.
No, see, look, let me clarify a few things. Sometimes you give a name to a program or to a process, and that name assumes some form that people can respond to. When you say, okay, if exactly what is different between this and what Utomi has always done, especially after he left APC. Utomi is a prominent member of the opposition movement in this country. Everyone knows that. Since 2019, after his failed bid to win the APC ticket to govern Delta State for the governorship of Delta, he left the party and has been free to engage as he has. Now, I think that the only reason anyone may respond to Utomi now is when you speak that language of a shadow government that we know to be a legitimate, recognized program of the parliamentary opposition in countries like the UK, and injecting that into a presidential space like we have in Nigeria. Now, you see, let's move away from that, the issue of construction. The point here is that no one, I don't think that there's anyone in APC, and certainly, yesterday I did, issue a statement responding to Pat Utomi. There's no way in my statement where I said Utomi didn't have a right to engage in opposition politics. I never said that, and no one says that. Even the Minister of Information who responded didn't say that. Now, you must distinguish between, like I said, the form of his presentation and the substance of his presentation. In substance, Utomi, like Peter Obi, like Atiku Abubakar, like anyone else, any Nigerian who disagrees with the government, it's free. Even those who are in government, even those who are members of our party, sometimes offer critical opinion, and we welcome that. So look, the democratic space is wide enough to accommodate all of these actors. But I think that we must also, be attentive to the sensibilities of our own, democratic, system of government that is uniquely different from the parliamentary system of government. I think that's really, where it appears as though there's some, difference. Otherwise, the substance of what Utomi wishes to do is what he has always done. Utomi is an outspoken person who has, historically and rightfully claimed and asserted his right to speak freely, his right to engage, his right to participate in all kinds of oppositional arrangements. He's done that, and there's nothing that is qualitatively different that is seeking to do now.
Okay, does the APC in any way feel threatened by this? Let me get at it. Right now we are hearing of a coalition movement being spearheaded by His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. We know of Peter Obi and the Obedient Movement. The elections is just around the corner, and right now we are hearing of a coalition also, under the umbrella of the Big Tent, coalition called the shadow government. So, does the APC as the ruling party feel, you know what, these guys are politicking already, we should be on our feet? Does it feel threatened?
No, you see, APC has no reason to be threatened. And by the way, again, as I said, there's nothing going on now that didn't go on before the 2023 elections. But Utomi, if you recall, somewhere before that 2023 election, did create what he called the third force. And somewhere along the line, even after that, he also, said he was putting together a mega, political party. Utomi is a very prolific creator of, systems and arrangements and experiments that have never materialized. It's a fact. That's what he does, and that is fine. And Utomi is a great guy. Some of us, we are friends. So, there's nothing that he's doing that is, really exceptional now that he didn't do before. He's done that. And, the coalition he attempted to create with others before the 2023 election didn't make a dent in the outcome of the election. Peter Obi ran the election. Asiwaju, who is the president today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, won the election. And we are, closing in on 2 years after that election. So, and Atiku Abubakar was also a candidate for the PDP in that election. So there's no formation that they are, up to now that begins to threaten the APC or to make us lose sleep. But see, let me make something very clear. I think that sometimes we think that because APC is the ruling party, that when people say things and they do things and they make, statements, especially when they make false statements, that create very misleading impression, divisive rhetoric, the APC should just be quiet and say nothing because we're a ruling party. That is not how democracy works. In the opposition, when you speak and you take a position and you advocate a position, especially when you begin to spew positions that are like I said, divisive, that are misleading, that are intent on promoting discord, the ruling party also has a democratic right and liberty to respond. But see, every time APC responds, then people say, they're in panic, or they are in some mode, or they are, trying to stifle that dissent. No. As a matter of fact, in how many democracies would you find someone like Pat Utomi who takes a microphone and proclaims a shadow government and names a shadow cabinet without any, big do, without anybody, really losing sleep. The fact that Utomi did that act by itself, I think is eloquent testimony that our democracy is completely thriving, is flourishing. He didn't stop the president from doing his business in Anambra as he did, yesterday. It didn't stop, anybody from, living their lives. So the point I'm making is that, as a matter of fact, Utomi, by his declaration, provides evidence, incontrovertible evidence, that our democracy is robust and that, the president, under his leadership, is affording everyone, including Pat Utomi and, those with him, the liberty to speak as they wish. But the hope is that they are constructive and that, we can actually together, I think, address, our common problems.
All right. Now, let's talk about the massive defections that we are seeing into your party, the All Progressives Congress, where we are seeing politicians move, even though some will say, yes, it's the political season and this is bound to happen. But there are also talks and concerns as regards Nigeria snowballing into a one-party state. What's your reaction?
Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous.
Why?
APC became the ruling party after it won elections in 2015 with President Muhammadu Buhari. 16 years back to back. Before that, the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, was the ruling party. At some point during that spectrum, the PDP governed Nigeria with a president and about 27 or 28 governors. With the addition of Delta, I think we're doing just 22 now. How come during the 16 years of the PDP, even when they declared as policy that they were intent on governing Nigeria for 60 years, that was the PDP, not the APC. To my knowledge, and I'm a foundation member of this party, or my party, no one in APC has ever come out to suggest that the APC intends to keep power for 20 years, let alone 60 years. Now, the point I'm making is that how come the PDP that governed Nigeria with 27 governors didn't lead Nigeria or was not leading Nigeria into a one-party state? And an APC is now leading Nigeria into a one-party state, the specter of one-party state. And let me finish. The specter of one-party state is all over the place because people are defecting to the party. That is utterly disingenuous.
Okay, maybe this might be coming on the heels of some, will I call it political speculators, suggesting that maybe the ruling party is planting moles across the opposition parties to cause disunity and crisis. We know what is going on within the PDP, we know what is going on within Labour Party, and so many other strong opposition parties. They seem to all, at the same time, have internal crisis, which many feel is a strategic, might just be a strategic move from the ruling party. So I'd like your reaction. Is the APC responsible for some of this crisis?
Well, the answer is no. AP is not responsible. APC is not responsible at all. But let me say this. Now, APC is a political party that's registered under the relevant laws of Nigeria. So is the PDP, that was also the ruling party for 16 years. So is the Labour Party and all the other parties that have license to operate in Nigeria. Now, first, let me make clear that there is no democratic norm that imposes any obligation on a ruling party to build any opposition party or to actually, teach any opposition party or model to them how to govern themselves. No party has the right to interfere in the internal affairs of another political party. Now, if a particular party has become utterly dysfunctional and rudderless and has multiple competing systems and internal contradictions that leading to its own implosion, I think it's unless you're a journalist, unless you as a journalist, you've done your research, you've done your investigation, and you have evidence to suggest that APC has in fact a hand in what is the spiral, I think, decay and decadence of these parties, Please, no one should suggest that or ascribe that to APC.
Okay.
No, please.
Okay.
I'm not done yet on that question because it's a very important question. No one should ascribe that to APC. And I think it's ridiculous because you are suggesting that PDP that has, governors, several governors of, some important states with, a national, all of the paraphernalia of, a national leadership of the party cannot manage themselves. A party that has a man like Atiku, who was vice president, with Peter Obi, who was also a member of the PDP. You're telling me that all of these characters who claim that they have the knowledge and the capacity to, tackle all of the crises in this country, from economic crisis to national security to, health, education, to every sector, they say today that we will do it better than this president. They cannot manage the affairs of their own party, and anyone sits in good conscience and say that APC should be held responsible for that. That is as a matter of fact, I think that's an insult to the personalities that are involved in these parties. We shouldn't be insulting them. They must take responsibility for the failure because they cannot manage their affairs, that small, minuscule affairs of their party, and they want to manage the complexities of Nigeria. You see, people must begin first to bear witness to their ability at home to do housekeeping. If you can't do housekeeping in your bedroom, please don't come to the world and teach the world how to make their beds. Doesn't lie in your mouth to do so.
All right, before we go, I'm just going to put this final question to you. Looking at the state of the economy, the state of security, the standard of living of Nigerians, which of course your party, has been at the helm of affairs, at the center and across, many sectors of the country. Do you think the APC deserves a second term at the federal level?
That is an open and short case. That APC deserves a second term.
With the way the country has been managed?
This president deserves a second term. And I'm sure that many Nigerians don't agree with you. We don't agree with the premise of the question. Now, what exactly has happened, so far? What has happened is that a president has come along in the person of, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who, had the courage, the audacity to tackle problems that generations of presidents simply, prefer to kick down the road for the next president. All of the elephants in the room, they come in there and they pretend that there's no elephants in the room. And then after 4 years, after 8 years, they saunter away. Whereas the fundamental problem that they were elected to address sat there, festered, got worse.
What are these fundamental problems?
You listed them already. You named them. You named the economy, you named the security, you named everything.
Well, Nigerians
we don't have a lot of time.
Nigerians are suffering more than ever now.
Please, let me explain it.
Okay.
It's not complicated, because when sometimes people get dramatic and, talk about suffering. Listen.
It's the reality.
No, hang on.
Okay.
May I ask you, please, give me that period of time in the history of our country, from independence, or maybe even before independence, when people didn't struggle. My parents struggled. I'm coming. Okay. My parents struggled. They struggled to even send me to school. They struggled to send my siblings to school. Sometimes I saw my parents really ache to provide food at the table. That was in the 70s. In the 80s. You see, the point is that there was not a time when people didn't struggle. And there's no country in the world, even some of the richest countries, where people don't struggle. You see, everything is relative. Now, this president has come and said, look, listen, we're going to take some action to tackle the problem at its very roots, at the foundation. And two major issues or policy questions were identified, which he didn't invent. Everyone else who came before him had even attempted, but never truly found the political will to make those decisions. He made them. He took out the first subsidy and he floated the naira. Now, this is 2 years we're talking about, not even 2 years yet. We still have a few days to 2 years of this president, who has fundamentally set this country and reposition Nigeria for sustainable growth and prosperity. As we speak today, I think the world is celebrating, again, IMF's declaration that Nigeria has, again, paid off some legacy debt to that organization. That loan was not taken by this president, but it's clear because he realizes that until we clear those hurdles, those, obstacles to our progress, we will not grow in a steady, sustainable fashion. So the point is that when you ask people are suffering, yes, listen, the president admits, because he's a pragmatist, like all of the people with him, and I have said so numerously everywhere, that when you take out such a behemoth, problem in the economy, like the subsidy, that created a phantom economy, and the very artificial exchange rate we had, where people just fixed the exchange rate, and then traded and fleeced the country around it for decades. You see, when this president removed it, there were bound to be repercussions, but temporary repercussions. And we've said that. And Nigerians understand that. And which is why our people have been very patient, despite efforts by many actors to incite Nigerians.
I'm told
they have refused to be incited. And they're standing firm in support of this government. And I'm quite certain that by the time the elections come around in 2027, Nigerians will have, not just, convincing, but, like I said, open and shut, reasons to hand this president a second term to finish the good work he started.
Thank you so much, Felix Morka. I really hope we wished we had sufficient time to
yeah, we will some of the time.
But definitely would have you again.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been a privilege.